Some stories begin quietly, but they do not stay quiet. This is one of those stories that starts in peace and slowly walks into fire, pain, and a kind of courage I never knew a child could carry. Before you continue reading, please take a moment to comment where you are reading or watching from. Let us know your country or city so we can connect as one family and remember each other in prayer. I was born in 2014 into a home where faith was not just believed, it was lived every day. My father was a well-known imam. People respected him deeply. When he walked into the mosque, adults stood straighter and children lowered their eyes. To everyone else, he was a spiritual leader. To me, he was simply my father, tall, serious, and always watching. Our house was beside the mosque. I woke up to prayer sounds and fell asleep to them. My days followed a strict order: school, Quran lessons, mosque duties, and silence. Laughter was allowed, but only in small amounts. Questions were dangerous. Obedience was love. From the time I could read, I was trained to become like my father. Relatives often reminded me that I was not an ordinary child. They said I carried honor, legacy, and responsibility. Those words sounded heavy, even though I was only 12. I felt like my life had already been decided before I understood what life truly was. At the mosque, older men watched me closely. They corrected how I walked, how I spoke, how I prayed. They expected perfection. When I made mistakes, they showed disappointment more than kindness. I learned early that love in my world was earned, not given. At home, my mother tried to soften things. She cared quietly, always worried, always careful. But even she feared stepping outside the rules. Our home was full, yet lonely. We lived together, but no one spoke about feelings. Fear lived in the walls, hiding behind respect. Even as a child, I noticed something was missing. I could not name it, but my heart felt dry. I followed every rule, yet peace did not stay with me. At night, I stared at the ceiling, wondering why God felt so far away, even when everyone said he was close. Outside our compound, the world was different. I saw children laughing freely. I saw kindness without fear. Sometimes I heard songs about love and hope coming from distant houses. I did not understand them, but they stirred something inside me. That curiosity scared me, because curiosity was seen as rebellion. I learned early what happened to those who stepped outside the path. Stories were told in hushed tones about sons who were beaten, locked away, disowned, or worse. These stories were meant to protect us, but they planted fear deep in my bones. I understood that leaving the faith was not just a choice, it was a sentence. So I stayed quiet, I stayed obedient, I stayed afraid. But even in silence, something inside me was waking up. I did not know it yet, but my life was already moving toward a moment that would cost me comfort, family safety, and everything I had known. This was the beginning. What happened next did not begin with rebellion or noise. It began with fear sitting quietly in my chest, and with questions that refused to sleep, even when I did. I was still 12, but my mind felt older than my body. Every day I followed the same routine. I washed, prayed, studied, and obeyed. From the outside, I looked like the perfect imam's son. Inside, something was breaking slowly, like a thin crack spreading across glass. At the mosque school, my teacher often reminded me that my future was already chosen. He told me that my life belonged to the path of my father. He showed me books and lessons meant to shape me early. Everyone expected strength, certainty, and silence from me. What no one expected was a boy who thought too much. The questions came when I was alone. They came late at night, when the house was quiet. They came when I watched people suffer and still fear God, instead of feeling loved by Him. I wondered why faith felt like a whip instead of shelter. I wondered why fear was stronger than mercy. I never spoke these thoughts aloud. I had seen what happened to boys who asked too many questions. One older student was once dragged out of class after showing doubt. Later, I was told he had been beaten at home and sent away. His name was never mentioned again. That silence taught me more than any lesson. My fear grew, but so did my curiosity. One afternoon, while running an errand outside our area, I met a boy my age. He was calm and kind. He treated me like a friend, not like a title. Over time, he shared small things about his faith. He did not argue. He did not force. He simply showed me kindness and peace through his actions. He revealed a type of love I had never seen connected to God. That scared me more than anger ever could. I started listening quietly when Christian programs played from nearby houses. I did not go inside. I only stood at a distance, pretending to be busy. I heard words about forgiveness, love, and rest. These words stayed with me. They followed me back home. They sat with me during prayer. They refused to leave. Soon, people began to notice changes. I was quieter. I hesitated during lessons. My father watched me closely. He showed disappointment with his eyes. My teachers became stricter. They corrected me more harshly. Small mistakes became big offenses. They said it was discipline, but it felt like suspicion. At home, my father began checking my belongings. He searched my books and my phone. My mother grew nervous. She warned me with her silence. Everyone sensed something was wrong, even though no one knew what it was. Then the punishment started. I was beaten for being distracted. I was denied food for missing answers. I was locked inside rooms to pray longer. They believed pressure would fix me. They believed pain would restore obedience. Each act of punishment pushed fear deeper into me, but it did not kill the questions. Instead, it made them louder. I began to understand something painful at a very young age. Love that must be forced is not love. Faith that survives only through fear is already dying. I cried alone many nights. I asked God silently to show me the truth, even if it hurt. I did not know that my prayer was already being answered, step by step, through loss, pain, and rejection. The world I knew was starting to turn against me, and the cost of asking questions was becoming very real. Some nights change everything, even if the world outside stays the same. This was the night my fear met a love stronger than pain, and my life crossed a line I could never return from. By this time, I was still 12. But my body was tired like someone much older. The pressure around me had grown heavy. At the mosque, the teachers watched me like guards. At home, my father's eyes followed every move I made. I was no longer treated like a child. I was treated like a problem that needed to be fixed. The punishments increased. I was beaten more often. I was isolated for long hours. Food was sometimes taken away so I could learn obedience. They told me these things were for my good. They showed me anger, but called it love. Each time, something inside me cried out for help. That night, my body was weak and my heart was full. I lay on the floor of my small room, listening to the sounds of prayer outside. I did not have strength left to pretend. I did not know the right words to say. I only knew I needed truth, not fear. In that quiet moment, something happened that I still struggle to explain with human words. I did not hear noise or shouting. I did not see confusion. Instead, I became aware of a presence that brought peace into my fear. It felt like light entering a dark room, not hurting my eyes, but calming my heart. He revealed himself to me, not through threats, but through love. He showed me that God was not distant or angry. He showed me care, forgiveness, and safety. I understood without being told that this was Jesus. Not the name used to threaten us, but the Savior who carried pain instead of giving it. In that moment, I felt seen. I felt known. I felt loved without conditions. The fear that had lived in me for years began to loosen its grip. I knew my life would never be the same again. But peace did not erase danger. The next morning, I was different. I tried to hide it, but truth has a way of showing itself. I was calmer. I was no longer afraid in the same way. My father noticed. My teachers noticed. They sensed something had shifted. Soon, the persecution became open and cruel. I was accused of betrayal. I was dragged before elders. They questioned me harshly. They demanded answers I was too afraid to give fully. When I stayed silent, they punished me. When I cried, they called it weakness. I was beaten until my body shook. I was told I had brought shame to my family. At home, my father became someone I barely recognized. He showed rage instead of care. He showed me pain instead of guidance. My mother cried quietly but could not protect me. Relatives stopped visiting me. Neighbors whispered. I was treated like I no longer belonged. They locked me in a room for days, hoping hunger and pain would break me. My body suffered, but my heart held on to what had been revealed to me. Even in the dark, I felt peace. Even while bleeding, I felt loved. That confused them. It confused me too. I learned something powerful through suffering. Pain can touch the body, but truth lives deeper than fear. The more they tried to crush me, the more certain I became that Jesus was real. By choosing him, I had chosen a harder road. And the worst was still ahead. Some endings do not feel like victory at first. Some endings do not arrive like celebration. Some endings arrive like silence, rejection, and a child standing alone, wondering how obedience to truth became a crime. After my decision, life did not slowly change. It collapsed all at once. The small space I once called home became a place of danger. My father showed me through his actions that I was no longer his son in the way I used to be. He revealed rejection without needing words. I was treated as someone who had brought disgrace, not as a child who needed care. The persecution became deliberate. I was beaten in front of others so fear could spread. They wanted my pain to teach lessons. My body shook from weakness, and bruises covered places no one could see. I was denied food for days. Hunger made my head spin, but it did not take away my faith. It only showed me how cruel people can become when fear controls them. At night, I was pushed out of the house. Doors closed behind me. I slept outside, sometimes on bare ground, sometimes near abandoned places. Cold wrapped around my small body. I cried quietly so no one would hear me. I was only 12, but I felt forgotten by the world. Still, Jesus stayed near. He showed me comfort that did not depend on walls or warmth. Relatives refused to help me. They avoided my eyes. They acted as if helping me would stain them. Children were warned not to talk to me. Some threw stones, others mocked me. I learned what it means to be alone while surrounded by people. Rejection cut deeper than hunger. There were moments when fear tried to return. I wondered if I could survive. I wondered if I would die unnoticed. But each time I remembered the love that had been revealed to me. I remembered that truth is not proven by ease, but by endurance. Sometimes kind believers helped me in secret. They shared food quietly. They showed care without attention. They risked punishment to protect a child like me. Through them, I learned that faith creates family where blood fails. My body suffered greatly. I became sick from exposure. Wounds healed slowly. Pain became part of daily life. But my heart was no longer chained. Even when I cried, I felt held. Even when I feared death, I felt hope. I also saw others like me. People who lost jobs, women who were beaten, men who were imprisoned, children who were forced into silence. I realized my story was not alone. Persecution was real, widespread, and cruel. Faith was costly, especially in places where love is replaced by control. I grew stronger inside, even as my body weakened. I learned to forgive those who hurt me, not because they deserved it, but because hatred would only imprison me again. Jesus showed me that freedom begins inside the heart. Looking back, I understand something clearly. Following Christ does not promise safety. It promises truth. It does not promise comfort. It promises presence. And that presence carried me through pain no child should face. I share this story so the world will not forget those who suffer for their faith. Many believers today live in fear, hiding, bleeding, and crying in silence. Please pray for them. Pray for strength. Pray for protection. Pray for courage. Pray that God will turn hearts of stone into hearts of love. If you are reading this and feel a call to turn away from sin and toward Jesus, respond now. Come to Him with humility. Acknowledge your need for forgiveness. Believe that Jesus gave His life and rose again for you. Ask Him to cleanse your heart and take control of your life. Choose to follow Him, no matter the cost. I lost my home. I lost my safety. But I gained a life that persecution could not destroy. I may have been small in age, but what I faced was heavy. My story is not shared to bring fear, but to bring understanding. Many believers walk this same road today, quietly and bravely. If my pain can help someone feel less alone, then it was not wasted. If my tears can help someone hold on to faith, then they had purpose. God sees every hidden suffering. Do not forget those who are persecuted. Remember them in your prayers, your kindness, and your courage to stand for truth. Faith is precious, and sometimes it costs everything. If you are hurting right now, know this clearly. Jesus stays close to the broken. He does not leave those who trust Him, even in the darkest places. This story continues through every believer who chooses truth over fear. And as long as faith lives, hope will never be silent.